Welcome back, everyone. We are two dudes talking 80s. I'm John. That's my partner in crime, Lewis.
Hello.
And, Lou, it's October, it's Halloween season. So I thought we'd take everyone back to Santa Carla in the 80s, the murder capital of the world. And let's talk about one of the all time classic 80s horror movies, The Lost Boys.
Nice.
I'm sure you remember the sexy vampires very well from the 80s.
Absolutely, man. That was a pretty awesome movie. I think that might have been the first one that started kicking off uh, other vampire movies of that era. Although I'm sort of going back to Interview with the Vampire, but I think that was in the 90s. But for some reason, I remember that vampire movie being one that really stuck out.
Yeah, that was definitely in the 90s because I remember seeing it out in Los Angeles in the mid 90s. But yeah, Lost Boys definitely preceded it. And I think the vampire movie had been pretty dormant. After the Lost Boys, you did have like Near Dark and things like that. Like you said later on, Interview with the Vampires. Even the version of Dracula with Keanu Reeves came later. But I kind of credit the Lost Boys for bringing it back into vogue and kind of making it cool again, right? You didn't really see that movie, but let's delve into it. First things first, there is no such thing as Santa Carla, right? As you and I well know, the film was at least mostly shot in Santa Cruz. And I don't know how you felt at the time, but I remember just being really amazed by the fact that it was shot in Santa Cruz, and seeing this movie and being like, oh man, that's that area, and that's this, and that's that. And it's so I found that to be really cool, recognizing, for the most part, all the areas in which they recorded or filmed.
John, it's funny because I didn't realize until very recently, and very recently being defined as maybe in the last 3, 4 years, that movie was shot in Santa Cruz. I just completely over my head. And yeah, I really enjoy movies that are shot in San Francisco for the same reason, where you can go in, oh yeah, that's that place, and yeah, I've been there, and that looks familiar. Yeah, once I realized that, I looked at it with a different pair of eyes, and it's pretty cool. It's very cool, actually.
And in addition to kind of bringing back the vampire movie, this was the first movie that contained the two Corys, right? You had Corey Haim and Corey Feldman. As far as I know, this was the first time they appeared together in a movie, and that seemed to be their pairing was a very big thing throughout the 80s. Corey Haim obviously portrayed Sam, and then Corey Feldman was part of the dynamic duo the Frog Brothers, who brought a lot of the comedic elements to this film.
Right. Yeah. I actually I didn't think about that either, and you're right. I mean, the two Corys were definitely a thing in the 80s, right? They were paired up for a lot of different movies. And I didn't realize that this was actually the first one that they were in together.
Yeah, it's kind of sad because I remember, one day I was at work, and my boss said to me, he goes, "Hey, do you know who Corey Haim is?" I said, "Yeah, of course. It's one of the Lost Boys." And he said, "Yeah, he was just found deceased. He died in our division." So I
Wow.
remember hearing that and being like, wow, that's really sad, and he's far too young. So I remember that vividly, though. Right after he died, I wasn't on that call, but my boss notified me about it. So kind of sad to hear that. Somebody that played such an important part of the 80s and seemed way too young to be deceased at such an early age.
Yeah, absolutely. That happened within the last 5, 7 years, right?
I think it was a lot longer. As we get
Really?
older, time seems to speed at a much faster progression, and so I think that was a lot longer than that, 5 or 7 years. But I can't recall.
Okay. All
I
right.
can't recall. And we saw Corey Feldman perform.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
He actually headlined I think we might have talked about this in one of the other episodes, but he headlined this 80s gig where it was Flock of Seagulls and uh let's see, it was Terry
Smithers.
Nunn from Smithereen, Terry Nunn from oh God,
Berlin.
I thank you. I hate this old age thing. And of course, Benoit from the Cars. And yeah, Corey opened up, and well, his performance was a little less than on par with everybody else. I'll leave it at that.
Let's just say stick to acting. So what was your initial reaction to the movie? I mean, I loved it from the get-go. I thought it was really great. Had, some great effects. Like I said, the Santa Cruz thing was big for me, bringing back the vampires, the cool vampires. I thought they did a great blend of, some scary moments without being too gory, with some comedic tinges, and I loved it from the get-go.
Yeah, John, from that very beginning, I thought it was a good movie. I wasn't like completely into it. Of course, looking back on it now with the nostalgia factor, it's awesome. It's a really great flick. When I saw it, I thought it was good. I didn't think it was amazing.
Okay, that's fair. Did you have a favorite character in the movie?
Probably Kiefer Sutherland. I mean, his character was pretty damn awesome.
Yeah, he portrayed that very well. And especially the scene that I really liked was the interplay between him and Michael when they're eating, and he tries to give him, the Chinese food. And he says it's rice, and Michael sees it as worms. He's like,
Right.
Indian worms, and I thought that was really, really well done.
Yeah, it was very cool. And the whole thing with the drinking of the blood and stuff. And yeah, very, very cool scene.
So one of the things about that is, the scene where they hang off the bridge. I always, my whole life, I've thought that was, well, not my whole life, but since the movie came out, I just assumed that was somewhere in Santa Cruz. And I actually researched it a few years back and found out that that one particular scene was actually recorded out in Santa Clarita.
Yeah.
And when last, I think it was the last time you came out here, we did a video about some 80s, locales. We actually went to I think it's the Iron Horse Trail, and it contains that bridge, which most people know about as the Lost Boys Bridge. And as you and I were going there, we saw a group of 3 women all wearing Lost Boys shirts coming from the bridge, which I thought was super cool.
Yeah, very. I think it's sort of funny that you're sort of like a homegrown Bay Area guy, and that you end up moving to a place that is almost within walking distance of where you live. That had this bridge there, and yeah, it's a trip to me. It's really weird that most of the movie was shot in Santa Cruz, but this bridge that's not in the heart of LA. It's a little further out. Um, that's where they shot it, and it was really cool. It was really cool when we went to visit. Very, very nostalgic, and looking at it and thinking, wow, this is actually where they did it. It's a
Yeah.
trip.
Yeah, it's not nearly as high up. Obviously, they use special effects with, the fog and everything else to make it seem much higher. And, I'm not saying you'd want to drop from there, but you could probably drop from there and survive. You'd be a little messed up, and even more interesting is when you're at the bridge, you look across the way and there's Six Flags Magic Mountain, which was also known as ta-da,
Wally
Wally World.
World.
So you get you're within a sight distance of 2 iconic, where's my drink, 80s locales, which is really cool. So I'm getting ready to do this. There were some things that I was trying to look up, and I don't know if you know this, probably didn't, but the original ending, where you see Grandpa, he drives into Max, and he's goes to his fridge and he goes, "I hate vampires," or something along those lines, was not the original ending for the movie. So the original ending for the movie actually had some of the Lost Boys were supposed to survive. They were supposed to go back to that locale of where the hotel had, sunk. That was kind of used as their headquarters, and they were going to pan out, and it was supposed to show a picture of the hotel back in the 1900s, and Max, who was the head vampire, was going to be in that photo looking exactly like he did in the 1980s. And that's
Oh,
how the
wow.
movie was originally supposed to end. I heard rumors that they changed it because they didn't think there was ever going to be a sequel to it anyway. I don't know if that's true. And from what I read, they didn't actually film that. But it sounds like if that was the original ending, it sounds kind of suspiciously like the Shining ripoff. And
That's exactly where I was going to go.
I think if they had done that, part of it would have been cool, but then part of me would have been like, could we have come up with a better ending than ripping off The Shining? What do you think?
100%, man, because that's immediately what came into my head. It's like, damn, that sounds a lot like the way that the Shining ended. So yeah, I think I would have been a little disappointed. Probably feel the same way as you about it.
Yeah, I agree. Um, and we can't talk about the Lost Boys without mentioning what I view as the coolest dog in the history of cinema, Nanook. I love that dog. That dog was amazing. I'm sure Nanook is not alive anymore, but I want Nanook.
I'll leave that one alone.
You didn't like the dog?
No, no, it just sounds funny that you want Nanook.
Uh,
Nanook could be interpreted as many different things, but anyway, yeah, there you go. What's special about that magazine there, John? That comic book?
that comic book. So this is a reproduction of the comic that the Frog Brothers give to Sam to teach him about vampires. And the interesting thing is, this comic was actually made specifically for the movie. This didn't actually really exist, but they made it for the movie. Vampires Everywhere. The comic book that is used in the movie is still in existence. God bless them. It's not the same location. They have moved. They have the original one of this, and they have some really cool Lost Boys memorabilia up there. So if you're ever in Santa Cruz, go check out the comic store. And of course, I can't think of the name right now because that would make sense. But yeah, they, as you can see here, they did this, and they only had a couple pages of the actual magazine because they didn't create the whole thing. And so when they reproduced it, they reproduced just the pages that were made, and then they threw a little bit of the trivia behind the scenes in there. So you can still actually buy this comic book to this day. We bought it, or I bought it like less than a year ago. And so
Yeah.
the fact that they still have this, so yes, you can have your own copies of Vampires Everywhere, a scene in Lost Boys, and a great reproduction of it. Something I was super glad to be able to purchase and have in my collection of Lost Boys memorabilia.
I think I remember the lady that was that sold the comic book to you, which is she was really nice. But she was saying that that there are still orders that they get all around the world for that thing, right?
Yeah, they to this day still. So it's pretty incredible, and it was great to be in there and see all the memorabilia that they had. Not as much as you would have expected, but they still had quite a bit. And the fact that after all these years it's still going strong is a testament to not only that comic book, and I'm sure they have a great customer service, whatnot, but I think the legacy of the Lost Boys. And she was telling us too that they've had a hard time getting the people to like give sell shirts and things like that because nobody was making them. And obviously you can find a lot of shirts nowadays, but a lot of them aren't actually made by the producers of the film. So I don't think
Right.
they want to carry anything that would be considered bootleg merchandise. Sorry, it's what I have, and it's if they had something else, I'd wear that too. But what a great movie. I think it's one of the perfect choices for a Halloween movie. Especially if you want to relive Halloween in the 80s. We went back to Santa Cruz, you and I, like maybe 6 months ago or something. and
Yeah, 6 to 9 months ago.
it's still, you can still see a lot of props from, the movie. When you watch the intro to this, you'll see a picture of me standing in front of the comic book store. There's a picture of Lewis standing in front of, I forgot the name of the large woman that's there, but I think they show her in one of the scenes in the beginning of the movie, when they're kind of doing the montage for the intro, for the opening credits. You know what? And then we got to talk about one other thing that I can't believe we talk about. I know you're a big music fan. That sax player covered in probably his body weight in baby oil. Come on now.
I can't remember the name of the guy, and he had like I think he was a one-hit wonder, or the band that he was in was a one-hit wonder in the 80s.
I don't remember him being in a band, but I did a little bit of research, and apparently he went on to play with Tina Turner in the 80s.
Really?
Yeah, so I don't know about any of his own music, but yeah, he went on to play with Tina Turner, so apparently he was pretty legit. But no, it's good that you mentioned it too, because um, I'm a big lover of soundtracks of the 80s, and I think The Lost Boys is up there with one of the best soundtracks there is.
Yeah, I can't remember any of the music other than the "We Shall Not Fall." They
Cry
had the
Little
kid
Sister.
chanting that. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Um, Very, very appropriate. I mean, it just again, with music invoking so much feeling, it was paired up with that movie just so well. I thought it was just made for it.
I think so too. I still believe, with the oily sax player is a great song.
That's right. That was his hit. I still believe.
Yeah. And then Lou Graham, Lost in the Shadows.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, I hope it's called Lost in the Shadows, but another fantastic song. Great soundtrack. They had the Doors, People Are Strange when they did the opening montage and showing of the different things about Santa Cruz. Um, how cool would it have been to be one of those people in that montage? I don't know if I want to be on that montage with People Are Strange, but there are people in there now that are like accountants and whatever, and they have these young kids, maybe even grandkids, and they're like, the grandkids are like, "Is that really you, Grandpa?" Be pretty awesome.
Definitely, definitely, man.
So
What
they eventually made a couple sequels to that, right?
I didn't.
Yeah, so they made a couple sequels. I watched one of them that had the Brothers, but it didn't really have anyone else from the original movie.
Hmm,
Not great. Not great. It
yeah.
was okay, and I didn't want to really, delve into it any further because I know there was another one, and I'm like, sometimes bad sequels kind of make you, um, enjoy the original that a little bit less.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of bad sequels out there, so I kind of try to avoid going a little bit further into checking out the other one because I'm like, okay, if this was a second one, which probably was the best of them, I don't know if I want to go to a third.
Yeah, sometimes it can sort of even taint the first one, which is something that you don't want, especially if you've got such great memories of it.
Yeah. So I think I've said everything I wanted to say about the Lost Boys. Still something I probably watch at least once a year. Unfortunately, we were supposed to go this year, October 29th. They're going to be showing it. And I guess they do it every year in Santa Cruz on the boardwalk, which would have been amazing. But I had a death in the family, so I have to go out in the Bay Area, and I just couldn't cut it going, twice in 3 weeks. So unfortunately, I think we'll have to save it till next year, and we'll have to get that going. But you remember the last time you saw the movie?
No, no, I don't. I'm way overdue to watch it. I think I watched bits and pieces of it, maybe even at your house. I might have fallen asleep. Your chairs are very, very comfortable.
They are. Trust me, I fall asleep on them all the time. Yeah, I saw it not that long ago at the Alamo Draft House in Los Angeles. And for those that there is an Alamo Draft House in San Francisco. We went and saw the new Top Gun, which was amazing a while back. But if you go to the Alamo Draft House, one of the things I really love about their theaters is instead of bombarding you with commercials and things like that before a movie, they usually have a program that's set up to enhance the film you're about to watch. So they come up with this crazy stuff. And the last time I saw the Lost Boys at the Alamo Draft House, they somehow uncovered all these old um, commercials, TV commercials for Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. And I'll tell you, it was just watching those. I'm sure I could have found them on YouTube myself, but I never even thought of looking for them. But to find, see some of those old Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalks commercials definitely brought me back and was almost worth the price of admission, before the movie even started.
Yeah, at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, frolic in the sun or something like that.
Way to
Yeah,
frolic,
yeah.
bro. Way to frolic.
One thing, and I know you and I have talked about this before, that trips me out is that Santa Cruz itself doesn't capitalize on the fact that The Lost Boys was filmed there, right? And I know we've said that there could be like copyright infringement or whatever it might be, trademarking, but you would think that they would at least like have a ride devoted to it or something like that. It's just such a big movie and it's had staying power. You'd figure they'd have some sort of substantial representation there, now.
I would agree. It was strange to me because a few years back, I went with my son. We went to Coney Island, and I went to Coney Island because I'm a huge fan of the Warriors movie. Unfortunately, that came out in the '70s, so we can't talk about it too much. But it was shocking at how much merchandise they had around Coney Island at these shops that were selling stuff based on the Warriors. So I haven't been to Santa Cruz in a few years, several years actually. When my wife and I went back a few years back, and I kind of assumed, with the advent of time and nostalgia, like you said, these new generations discovering this movie, the '80s kind of being such a cool decade again, even for younger people, that we would have seen a lot of merchandise for the Lost Boys, to a point like I was like, oh geez, I wonder how much stuff I'm gonna pick up here. And there was nothing on the boardwalk. I don't remember seeing one thing. Obviously at the comic shop we saw some stuff, but that's no longer on the boardwalk. So it was really strange, like you said, and a great point by you that they don't take advantage of the nostalgia factor, or just even the fact that there's just such a market for that stuff from fans of the movie. I mean, the fact that you and I go on some random weekday to the Lost Boys bridge and we see three fans in Lost Boys shirts, I think that speaks volumes to the staying power of the movie, and why it's not capitalized on. I wish I knew.
Yeah, yeah, it has to be something to do with trademarking or who knows what, but it is bizarre. It is very weird.
Yeah. I wish they still had that stage where they showed the performances, but I guess that was torn down because of the damage to it due to the Loma Prieta earthquake.
Mhm.
So that's why that doesn't exist anymore. But make a promise to me, if we go next year, you'll learn to play the sax and you'll stand up there and oil yourself down and play the sax on something on the boardwalk.
I don't think that for the general health of the public that people would want to see my pale white pasty ass self up there oiled in my dad bod. I don't think that that's gonna work.
All right.
Sorry.
It hurts. It hurts my soul, but I get it. All right. Well, I appreciate it. Anything we're good?
I think we're good, buddy. I think
Yeah,
we
I think
covered a lot
now
of
I just want
ground.
to go watch the Lost Boys.
Definitely have to. It's been a long time since I've seen it, so I've got to go check it
Um,
out again.
yeah. Hopefully we'll be able to get together next week and watch it. If I'm not able to come out there and get there in time, I'll just stay out here, and there's a place showing it out here. So either way, next week, probably Wednesday, I'll see the Lost Boys. But
Good deal, man.
hopefully you guys watch the Lost Boys. Let us know in the comments, is there an '80s horror movie you'd like us to discuss? Because we were going to do one for each Sunday in October, but life got in the way and we're a little bit behind. So Metallica came in, hit the first October, but the rest of the month we're going to talk about some of our favorite 80s horror movies. I think, what are we doing? Friday the 13th, right?
I think that one's next on the roster.
All
Yeah.
right, so the next one will be Friday the 13th, but if there's something you want to see us do, please put it in the comments. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe. Thank you guys for watching the last episode. I'm sure it had nothing to do with us, but everything to do with the fact that we were talking about Metallica, but we got an incredible amount of views for us on that video, and we're certainly pleased. So hopefully we got some new viewers from that. Let us know what you think. Be kind. We're not getting paid for this. And just right, just be kind. I'm old and sensitive, but thank you guys as always for watching. Ant, you got to throw something for Ant's Corner. You missed out on the Metallica one, so you got to rectify it with some Lost Boys comments, and we'll see you guys next time. Lou, take us out, brother.
Here, +1 on the Ant. Peace out.
Thanks, you guys.